Hello and welcome to another episode, if you can call them episodes. Let's not call them episodes. Let's call this another live Twitch broadcast with me, Lee Bamber, and I'm going to talk about Game Guru. And I'm going to try and talk about it for half an hour. Yes, he's going to talk about it for half an hour. My hat. But I'm really going to try now, so which means making it nice and condensed and keeping this on track. Because anyone who's a past viewer of these little Twitch broadcasts knows that every half an hour turns so quickly and easily into 1 hour, and I'd like to keep myself on track because I think we all have busy lives, and listening to me for an hour isn't necessarily going to be the high point of your day. You just don't want to miss anything, so let's see if we can cram it into half an hour. So hi everyone, I'm going to go straight to the forum because we have a place where you can request the topic of what I shall natter on about. You'll find it at the top, called Twitch Sessions. Please send us your requests. We've got 3 pages of requests now, but hopefully over the 40-odd broadcasts that we've already done, we've covered a lot of this stuff. Because I like to think, you know, everything I talk about has a relevance. You know, as something, there's someone out there that wants to know this stuff, even if it's just one person, then I can talk about it, and it may benefit others when they check it out later on YouTube, when we convert this live broadcast into a video. So I've gone right to the end, and I'll tell you why, because I kind of checked this out a little earlier, and we've covered this. I tried to cover that. This one's a feature request, and this is one requesting that I continue to work on the platform script, but there is a thread. Now, it might be linked in the chat and live chat, and I can post it here, where the community have taken my platform script. And what a platform script is, it lets a platform move across like a river or a canyon, and the player can jump on the platform and get to the other side. Well, mine was pretty crude, relatively speaking, but then the community has taken that same script and done amazing things with it. Things I don't even think were possible, but there you go. So how dare I even attempt to go back to my platform script and add any features, because there's so many better features already out there in the community forum available as the new improved script. So please do check that out. And if someone provides the link, I can actually add that as well. But the one thing that did catch my eye, and rather coincidentally the last one that was posted, which was the 22nd of April, it's from Lalando. He writes, I'd like to see some time on a Twitch broadcast discussing the use of the radar system. Interesting suggestion. We did one broadcast before where Ravy introduced it, but I don't think he ever went into the details on how it can be improved and adapted for your particular game. I always watch these sessions after the fact, really enjoy them, binge watching the first 35. Ouch. Yes. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, so the timing's out. 4 p.m. I chose because America's just waking up and UK is just not necessarily going to sleep, but certainly finishing their work. But maybe it doesn't work for either party because 4 p.m. probably lands in the general working day of pretty much anyone on two halves of this ocean. So, happy to receive suggestions of other times, but 4 p.m. seems to work simply because we've done it for the last 44 times and people can remember 4 p.m. So given this is the request I'm latching onto and the fact I've only got now 24 minutes to talk about it, I find I should jump straight in. I took the courtesy of launching Game Guru already. And you're going to say, well, what is the radar system? Show me the radar system as it exists right now. So I'm going to drop in a start marker. And I'm going to drop in a dynamic barrel that explodes. I'm going to set the property of that barrel to a script inside the radar folder called radar. So select radar. And then apply those changes. And then run the game. Now, in theory, we should immediately get a radar in the top right corner. This is what I'm expecting. As you know, for all of these live broadcasts, it's unrehearsed. It's not scripted. You see it live. If I mess up, you see it straight away. I'm rather breathing a sigh of relief that we do indeed have a radar on the screen. Now that isn't, if you've never seen a Game Guru before, that's not default. You know, if I delete Mr. Barrel and run it again, that script's not running in this particular level. There's no radar, you see. So it was the barrel, entirely responsible for our radar. But we want something on the radar more than just a blank radar. We actually want to see something on our radar. So I'll reinstate the radar. Now you think, well, why do you have a barrel? It could be any dynamic entity that could be hidden away in your level that you don't see. It could even be a zone. You could set it up as a zone. I'll prove you. If we go into, say, trigger zones, and trigger zones are really just defining a zone. The trigger part is because of the script, because inside the script it detects when the player walks inside this zone. But if you completely throw that script out and just give it another script, a script that does not rely on the player being in the zone, out the zone, or any kind of zone, then it's just going to run. But the thing is with markers is if the player is 500,000 miles away from it, very unlikely considering the train's not that big, but let's say you get out of range of the zone deactivates, which means the script isn't running. That's to sort of give you your game performance back. So just to make sure it's always running, i.e. the radar is always switched on, you're going to need the always on, which isn't available in the trigger zone, you see. So you would only really use this if your level was really small, like if you look at the Asylum, that's a very small level, and you put this trigger zone generally in the middle and it's going to work for all. Now that's a pretty good feature request. Can we not have an always active on the zones? Absolutely. So if someone sends me an email, mostly so I'll remember. Whereas this one, you see you've got always active no, always active yes, you see. So you can set this zone, this entity, to always be on. So no matter how far away you get from this barrel, this script will always be running. And that's how the script makes its way into your game. But you want something for your radar to reflect, and so for that we're going to have an enemy. Now the enemy, I think, will automatically add itself to the radar system. Like I said, this is unscripted, so if it doesn't, then we're going to do some troubleshooting, but I think it will. And we're going to give ourselves 10,000 health, so we can survive, and I'm also going to give myself an Uzi with 100 lovely bullets. And remember to save early, save often. And we're going to run this and see if we've got a red dot on our grey radar. Drum roll, please. Yes, there we are, a little red dot. You may be wondering why is the background all blurry. That's just a feature of depth. See, it's a depth of field effect. You can make it soft or near or far, wherever you want it. Yeah, so that was the only reason for that. And as we get closer to the little enemy, the red dot gets closer to us. The enemy takes exception to the fact that we walked into his personal space and a headshot takes care of that guy. Little red dot disappears, we take his weapon, and we're off. So that's great. So most people probably figure that out by accident. Now you want to know, how can we have some real fun with the radar, i.e. can we set up objective points? You know, so we start here, we go there, we go there, we go there. So let's say we started here, and then we had to go north, and we have to defeat this guy, and then we had to go this way, and then we had to go all the way here, and then this is maybe the end of the game. We'll specify that with a win zone, and you've got to get through past that zone, which is good enough until you want to actually do any decent level design, but this is what it is. What we want is maybe some objective points. So let's say something you have to collect. So if we go to collectibles, maybe you have to collect milk cartons, right? And let's say you have to collect big milk cartons. So how about that? Yeah. And these are collectible. I can just run and collect that. It probably gives me a bit of health. But what I can do is, this is a guess, by the way, ages since I used the radar system, and I didn't even write it. This was Ravy's little baby. I think what you have to do is set the script to this, objective.lua. Before I make a massive fool of myself, I'm going to go into the script bank, radar, objective.lua, and let's see what it does. It creates an array. It sets the array to 0 at the subscript of what the entity index is. Then if it's 0, it immediately goes and passes that. So if there is an add objective global in the global Lua system, then and that's a function, then it calls that function with E, ends, and then it sets this array to 1. So if I'm assuming the radar.lua has this function in it, so if it exists, it calls it with the E. E is the enemy, you know, whatever you, oh, rather the milk carton, I should say. And then it sets that so it doesn't keep doing it. So that looks pretty sensible, doesn't it? So I guess all we're going to do is run. Now there should be 2 dots on the screen. Also, this, I just wanted to mention, this is a live chat, and if you're the first person to see a video, I don't know why you started at broadcast 46 or whatever it is. But it's a live chat, which means people can ask questions all the way while I'm rambling. And I just got a question now from Sparrowhawker. He asks, maybe a good idea to have global always on scripts attached to the start marker, so allow multiple level scripts that don't require entities, just for scripts. Yeah, I was thinking something like that as well. Why do you have to have an entity to run a global script? Why can't we have, you know, a set of global scripts that are always on? And then maybe you can have flags that switch them on and off. That would be a pretty cool feature. But we don't have such a thing as a global entity. There's no global thing yet. Everything's based on the things you drop into the level. The only thing I could argue is global is the floor and the sky. I mean, those are, you know, always there for the most part. So if anyone's got any really cutting suggestions on how we can add it very easily and simply to Game Guru's interface without making it more complicated or convoluted, then yeah, I'm all for that. So you've noticed now I've run it, there's 2 dots. There's a red one, we know what the red one means, but then a yellow one. That one is the objective. So I'm guessing if we stop him, and if we collect this, that yellow one might disappear. Did we collect it? Did we do anything? Well, it seems like I already know. Does anybody else know? I know. You know what that is? We changed the script. You see, the milk carton's original script was health.lua, which means when you get near it, you collect it and then you move on. But I changed this massive milk carton to objective.lua. So all it really does, it adds an objective marker, which might be perfect. I mean, we might want to, you know, create a breadcrumbs, yeah, to your destination, and that's your last destination. So if we run it now, if you're confusing where to go in your mammoth level that you've created for your game, you'll look at your radar. Oh, you're still there, are you? And then you can follow the breadcrumbs, even though there may not be a path, to your next destination. Like so, and keeping the objectives on the screen might be a way to get you back to where you started. But no, I really wanted to collect these massive milk cartons and have the little objective yellow things disappear. And in order to do that, one has to go into the world of scripting. So, for the purposes of convenience, I'm just going to cut and paste. So I've now got a copy of objective. I'm going to create something super temporary, like Lee objective, so I can delete this later. It's not going to be a huge script. I don't think I'll be sharing this one. It's not going to be rocket science. Remember, when you change the name of the script, you have to change the name of the functions. And now it will add itself like that. But we're going to have a new piece of code now. Now, rather than me trying to remember all the commands, I'm not very good at remembering things. If I just go to that health thing that we replaced earlier on, it has all the juicy things that we need. So I'll take all the logic that was in the health lower, paste it into the script that's now this new Lee objective script. When we get within 80 units, it's a big curtain, let's say 150 units, and I'm still alive, then instead of collected health, we'll have a prompt on screen which says, you have reached a new objective, point, exclamation mark. Plays a little sound, doesn't add any health, destroys the milk curtain, and doesn't need to activate anything else. I mean, you could do, there's clever things you could do, like activate the next objective, but let's not get into nitty's thing like that because we don't have the time. We don't have the time. So I'm going to save, and remember, always important, if you've just replaced the script with another script, all these are using that old script, remember, objective.lua, that's no good to us. We want to use a new one. So we can go back into radar, but now we've got Lee objective. That's the one we want to use now. Apply changes, just as before. Extract, put a few down, and then one at the end, just before the end I should say. Save, and then run. This time when we get near enough to the egg curtain, milk curtain I should say, it should disappear, and maybe make a sound. Oh, get rid of this guy. See, you got headshots, but if it uses his legs and his body, it takes a bit of pointing first. I've noticed almost immediately the objectives have gone. That's interesting. We should actually look closer at that. Now, will it collect? Right. So let's say there was no lure error popped up. So this is something more interesting. If we go to the first milk curtain, have another look. Radar, the objective. I wonder if it's because it's capitals. These are interesting things. So let's come out of that. Because I assume that was just going to work, I'm going to work on one first. I'm going to bring this a bit closer. Now, we're going to rename it a little bit. Go back to the radar. Instead of capital E, capital O, because I just noticed every other script in the world is lowercase. And maybe, and this is a good thing to know, if this works, no more capitals. There must be something in there. Right, still works. I've not jeopardised that code. It's all now lowercase. Save. Close that. Open up the new one. Yep, that's fine. And then go to our milk curtain and replace that script with this script. Apply. Run. Does this one work? Bop. Does it work? Yes. All right. New law. New lesson. Do not use capitals in your Lua file names or function names because the script is somehow ignored. Now I have noticed one thing, that the yellow blob is still there. That objective is not being removed from the radar, even though we've deleted the entity, which suggests to me a deficiency in our radar.lua. Because enemies certainly delete, don't they? So if we look through the bit that's going to position them on the screen, these are enemies. That's all the code for enemies. This is for objectives. I've noticed the enemies one's slightly bigger, and the one for objective isn't so big. And it looks like it's just going to render all the objectives no matter what, even if you remove them during the game. So you're going to get another update. You're going to see a bug fix live on air. And it's not going to be a particularly difficult one. All we're going to do is ask whether this entity is alive or not. And even though it says, where are we? Okay, it might get a bit more complicated actually, because look, we have an array here, radar enemies, which pulls from that to get the E for the objectives. The objectives one, as I can see it, you've got radio objective, point at player. I think it might be radio objectives. Yeah, so that is also E. Cool. So I'm going to take this. Thank you very much. That gives us our E. And then what we do is say if it's got any health, then you can show it. Otherwise, please don't show it, because you don't really exist anymore. So I'm just going to save this, see if that did the job. Dun, 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 dun. Initializing everything. Now it's yellow, and it's still there, right? Maybe it's because when we destroyed, the health wasn't really set to 0. So maybe we can do that. Obviously, all that compiled, which is good. So, let me think. I'm a little bit of a thinkly. This is the add objective, which that other thing called. So it encrypts that. It sets it to I, which you passed in. So radio objectives is indeed storing the E value, but health is definitely not becoming 0. There's two things we can do. We can change this to something else which detects further destruction of the entity, or much easier than that, we just go back here and just before we destroy it, we set entity health to 0, just to make sure that even exists as a command. I'm going to go to the script bank, look for global.lua, look for that command. Yes, it exists. Set entity health, so that's good. So we're going to set it to 0 before we destroy it. And setting it to 0 may well destroy it before the destroy gets to do the destroy bit. But you know what? I'd rather have it destroyed twice than none at all. So does this get rid of the yellow blob? No, it doesn't. I'll tell you what it does do though. Hey. Serious experiment going on here. It's not updating anymore. You see? So the little piece of code, something that the other one did that we're not doing. Probably something to do with the sprite's position. Yeah, here it is. If we're alive, do all this lovely stuff. Else, move it to 200, 200. Well, I'm not going to scrutinise the logic of moving it to 200, 200. I guess 200, 200 is... It's using a percentage coordinate system, so 0 to 100. So 0 is left of the screen, 100% is right of the screen. 200 is twice the distance of right of the screen and the bottom of the screen. So it will definitely move the dot off screen. And as far as the end user is concerned, it just looks like the yellow dot disappeared. Not really disappeared, we just moved it off screen. So let's see what happens. It removed the enemy. Okay. Yes, that's what happens with cut and paste. Beware of cut and paste, it is often your enemy. As you can see, radar enemy sprites, the array that we're switching off. We really want that one, because that holds the number for all the sprites. I'm pretty certain I could put a quid on the fact that this yellowed blob's going to disappear now. Gone! Gone! And now, finally, that it works, I'm going to put it in my changelog so I don't forget. So what do we have? We fixed radar.lua to allow objectives to disappear. Nearly, there's one more thing. Including change to objective.lua. The reason I say that is we just modified my own personal one, didn't we? The Lee objective thing, you see, for that. Which is critical. So, all we can do is go to the other one, the real objective, which is in radar. Radar, objective, and then... Ah, yeah, see, we don't really need to. Maybe, does anybody just want this like this, or would you like my version of it? I'll tell you what, I think everybody likes my version of it, so I'm going to override. There it is. And pop that in there. So now anyone gets near an objective, it will disappear. You have reached, I would say a new objective, just to keep it very generic. You have reached an objective. It disappears, it plays a sound, it reduces health, and that removes it. That, I think, is much more useful and helpful for all and sundry. So given that, because I don't usually modify actual scripts, and they actually are in my Steam folder right now, so I've got to be aware that these guys, I'm going to delete that actually. That one and that one now get copied into my dev folder, which is in here, containing lots of many new things. Oh, Lee, you made a mistake. Don't put it in the root, put it in radar. Okay. Dunk, dunk. So now you got 2 new improvements. And it also means that I can take my milk carton, change it from that one I random, put that real one in, apply changes, create a few of them, run the game, kill the enemy, collect the objectives, go home. So collect that, and then collect that. Yes. And if anyone was lucky enough to pick up the Easter DLC, we only sold it for 2 weeks. Started again next Easter with more stuff in it. We had what's called the Egg Radar, which was on another part of the screen and already allowed you to do that. So this code was already known, I should say. Now I wonder what happens if we just destroy this barrel. Does the radar stop doing its thing? No, it's quite happily running in the background. Well, we'll see. Maybe there's enemies and objectives all over it, wouldn't do it. So that's a better introduction, I should say, to radar. Not least because you actually saw a bug fixed live on the broadcast, but also it gives you some sense of assurance that the next time you come to use radar.lua and use the objective.lua in order to put your objectives down in the game, in version 1.131 it would actually do what you just saw in this broadcast and not seem to be broke, in that when you dropped objectives down, I mean technically I actually added this removing it, so technically the version 0.13 does work, but you just can't get rid of the objectives without adding extra code. This new version of objective.lua lets you do that. So hopefully that's a bit useful. I don't know if there's any other questions on radar. I did say half an hour and we're now 2 minutes to that point. So if you've got any more questions, I'd be happy to show. We got 2. I must have been ignoring the chat. How is the construction kit going? Thanks for your help regarding my store item as well. Much appreciated. That's from Retro Game Block. No problem, I'm always here to help. All you've got to do is email me. I'm on the forums every single day. I try and help there because then everyone gets the benefit of the advice. But I'm certainly happy to answer any emails if they come in. That's no problem whatsoever. I'm here to serve. This is my job. It's not the construction kit, it's the easy building editor. I don't want people to be confused that we've resurrected the construction kit. We haven't. That turned out to be quite, not difficult to use, but it took such a long time to make one building. It's like almost torture. Fun, but took a long time. The EBE, the Easy Building Editor, is hopefully designed to allow you to create a building in seconds. Literally seconds. So, and it's not really started yet. I'm still in the design phase, collecting inspiration from the modern world, trying to find, what are the best ways to do these sorts of things. In the meantime, I'm working on 1.131, which is the FBX import improvements and some tweaks that have been coming in since version 1.13 came out. So that's nearly all of my time, and then design on EBE and collecting assets and ideas so I can cobble them all together and then build it into, so it integrates with the entity editing system. I think that's absolutely vital, that being able to use the EBE and the entity snap system should be seamless, almost integrated. But a question on the radar stuff coming from Synchromesh. Can you show us how to reposition the radar? Yes, great suggestion there. This is the radar script. It looks quite ominous for someone who doesn't use scripts, and not wishing to teach you programming. What I can show you is the relevance of the command names. We made the command names almost intuitive. Read the name of the command, it kind of tells you what it does. So if you look at something like sets, just look for the word position, right? Because that's what, once you change the position of something, so immediately it takes you to set sprite position. And radar sprite, a sprite is, in the traditional sense, a sprite is like a ghost. It's something that floats about. Now imagine that the image on your screen floats about, so we call them sprites because they float about. Maybe that's why we call them sprites. That's why I call them sprites. So that's what they are. So the radar sprite is the radar image that's floating around on the screen. So having set sprite position, you can imagine would set the position of that ghost. Problem is, there's lots of other things attached to the radar, and I'm going to show you what happens when I try and change it. So just so I don't mess up, actually I can, because this is the Steam version, so I can totally mess this up if I want to. Just to make sure I'm editing the right one, because I've got quite a lot of scripts open there. I'm going to close them all down again, and I'm going to click on radar, which takes me to here. So we're now on the right radar. You see this one where it says 90-15? That means it's 90% along the X and it's 15% down the Y. So X goes left to right and Y goes top to bottom. So if we're at 90 to put us here, if we did 10, we'd be the mirror image, but we're on this side. So if we change it to 10, saved. Don't have to change this any, because every time you come out of test and go back in, it reloads all the scripts. And now it's on that side of the screen. Now, can anyone see the problem? Yep. Not a problem really, it's just got to be aware that there's more than one sprite floating around on the screen. That was just the circly radar bit. So have a look for position again. Who else has got position? Well, there's this stuff down here. Look, set sprite position. I'll just keep that highlighted. You can just see them all highlighted in green. This thing is called Notepad++. It's very good for syntax highlighting Lua script if you wanted to get into it. That looks like it just hides everything, so ignore that. That hides everything. I say hide it because it looks 200%, 200%. It's never going to be on the screen. This is an interesting one, XY. So where's it getting X from? Well, X comes from 90 plus the whatever, and then Y is 15 plus whatever. The whatever is probably the specific position of that dot on the radar. But you'll notice these two values, 90 and 15. So what if we changed 90 to 10, just like we did with that above? And look, there's 90 there again. So what if we change that to 10? Right? So no more set positions that I can see that we need to worry about. There's one down here, but that's 200, 200, so that makes it invisible. Click Save, Run. So my guess is we've shifted every reference to 90%, made it 10%. So now it's all, including the enemy, on that side of the screen. And that's how you would do it. When you get a bit more savvy with scripting, you start to navigate logic. Even if it's a script you didn't write, you start to be able to interpret what it's going to do and be able to deal with things like this. And if you wanted the radar in the middle of the screen, can anyone guess the numbers? Start at the top. It would be 50, 50, and down here. Now, savvy scripters would say, Lee, you're writing the same in literal 3 times. Silly boy. Nasty scripting practices. I want to reiterate, I didn't write that. This is Crazy Ravy who wrote this script, and he uses literals any way he likes, because he don't care. What you would normally do is set up a global variable at the top, which sets the position of the radar, then reuse those variables instead. So I only have to change the position once. That's the smart way to do it. But it takes years to figure that out, you know. And who needs years? So there you go. Some people might want a radar right in the middle of their screen. And so it is. We've got some more feed on the chat, even though we have now exceeded our 30-minute window of opportunity. Retro but hopefully the main radar system linked to the main radar sprite, but I have never used, so I am only guessing. Hopefully the main radar sprite are linked to the main radar sprite. Yes, absolutely. The radar sprite is definitely linked to the radar sprite, being that they're exactly the same thing. I'm sure you knew what you meant, but I can't interpret it from this. If you want to post it again, I'm going to be here for at least 2 more minutes. Also adds the construction kit. Would be good for making a Fallout 4 clone. Still a better system in editor is more useful overall. Yeah, that was my idea. When I started helping prototype and bring out the construction kit, and it would be this, you know, I don't know if you've seen this, you know, where you can edit in the game, you know, and raise land, and, well, not on that mode, but you can sink, have a sinkhole like that, or I could raise a big mountain. You see, and then we thought, well, wouldn't you be able to create buildings in this mode as well? Thing is, we got a lot of backlash through the testing, and what people were seeing were they didn't want to build buildings here, they wanted to build them here. You know, they wanted this kind of level of control and then zooming in, you know, and adding more rooms and corridors and creating stuff quickly. And being restricted to F9 mode, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, felt a bit cruel. So the idea actually was that we're going to put the editor here, just as you can take this and go into snap mode, and then that snaps to that, snaps to that. You see, everyone starts here, and so why not be able to create your building here? Now, I'm not saying this is the easy building editor. You can make your building out of milk cartons. I thought it's a pretty neat building. Now I'm looking at it. The little, the bit what opens looks kind of like a roof line. Honestly, I did not intend this at all. It's pretty good, doesn't it? So there you go, made my own building. Made entirely out of objectives, I should add. So that's where the initial editor's going to go. Maybe in the future we're going to put the building editor features also in this mode, in the F9, running around and build a building on the fly. Sure, why not? But I think there's a level of priority, and I think most and nearly everyone will probably prefer the editor to be in that first interface that you saw. Just a clarification from Retro Gamebug. I assume the change of one or two variables, but as you have shown, the data is hard coded. It is. Hard coded is never a good idea anyway. I mean, always try and get your data in from an external source and centralize the data so you're not duplicating data. These are the things that you find out yourself because it's such a pain that when you find a bug to have to change the same value 17 times, it really is a brain ache. So, just to prove all these are objectives, I'm going to collect the building. No more building on the radar, no more evidence. I've eaten the building. So yeah, slightly outside of the mandate of explaining radars, but it was fun. So that's it for this broadcast, I think. No more questions on the radar. If you have questions, you know where to post it. Just go back to the forum and where are you? So yeah, post it here. It's on there, it's sticking so you can actually post it in, and then next week I'll actually cover it. There may be another Twitch broadcast same time tomorrow. It won't be about Game Guru, it'll be about AGK Tier 1 to Tier 2. If there's any questions on it, that's still open for debate. But for Game Guru fans, it will be next Wednesday, 4 PM British Summer Time. Be there or be square. Quite happy to talk about absolutely anything you want to learn about. Just go and post it in the appropriate columns. I shall do my best to elucidate. So until next Wednesday, thanks for your attention. Catch this on YouTube later in about 2 hours. Until next week, I shall say goodbye.